For people who have known Gary Johnston for any length of time, few would disagree that the word failure does not exist in his vocabulary. When he was a player on a school, university, club, sub-union, provincial or national team, Jono thought that winning was the only option. Jono was an outstanding player and captain with his own club, the James Bay Athletic Association, Victoria Crimson Tide, British Columbia, and he was capped for Canada against France in 1978.
I guess you have to say captaining the team against Cardiff, and Cardiff came over here in their centenary, and they had Gareth Edwards, who was arguably one of the best players in the world, and Gerald Davies was the captain, and I remember shaking his hand. I was a captain of the Tide, and there was a no-win situation for the Tide, and but it was Tide at that time was composed mainly of James Bay. I think there was 6 James Bay in the forwards, and the Cardiff team had internationals. I remember the 2 props, Mike Nill and Barry Nelms. They were like post office boxes. They were just huge, and they were all covered in grease. And I mean, men coming up for the pregame picture, and it was all intimidation. And they wanted to know, who were the props? Who are the props? I want to sit next to the props, because they were bigger than our guys. And it was Casey Walt and Mick Eckert from James Bay, and they sat right next to them and tried to intimidate them before the game. And it was a marvelous game for the Tide, and the victory over Cardiff is a one-shot affair in 100 years. Gareth played the scrum half, arguably one of the best players ever to play the game. But when I shook Gerald Davies' hand before the game started, I thought I could crush it, because it was so small, and he was a winger, but he was so elusive, you know, showing that anyone can play rugby no matter how big you are or your size. But Gerald Davies was one of the greatest wingers ever to play the game. And in the end, we won. And I remember sitting and having some beers afterwards and just really enjoying talking to the 2 props. And they asked me if we'd like to play again tomorrow. And I said, no, we'll wait for another 100 years and take you on the second time.
Throughout his playing years, Jono appeared in 12 Roundsfeld Cup finals, winning 1 at UVic, and 7 consecutive victories with James Bay Athletic Association, 6 of them as team captain.
You know, we won 7 consecutive BC championships. The thing that I'm most proud of. And they were character guys. It wasn't just the athleticism. And I think nowadays we focus a little bit too much on the great athletic ability of the athlete and less on the character. So the great characters of rugby, like Hans and McTavish, Al Sharon, people like that, who were Gordy McKinnon, who are good athletes but great characters of the game with a big heart. And those sort of players are the ones you really enjoy being around.
The combination of Tillman Briggs as coach at James Bay and Jono as captain was the most formidable leadership combination in Canadian rugby throughout the 70s. When Jono became a coach, he applied many of the lessons he learned as a player and always wanted to be on the leading edge in this position. He was Canada's first World Cup coach, and his British Columbia teams have never lost a national championship at under-19 or senior level. His Oak Bay High School Barbarians have won a record 6 BC championships.
Right, it gives me a lot of satisfaction to know that over a dozen players from my high school have gone to play for Canada. Canada's greatest try scorer, Winston Stanley. Mark Wyatt, who I haven't even mentioned yet, graduated from Oak Bay in 1980. He was certainly one of Canada's great players and captain in the most successful World Cup, the one in France. That gives me a great deal of satisfaction. I've been retired, I think, retired in quotations for 2 years. I'm still the technical director at James Bay, and I coach the Monterey Middle School rugby team. We just finished winning a tournament, 27 tries for and 1 against, proving the defense wins championships. And I have a business that I'm the sole owner of a business, and I have 12 people working for me, and it's an internet business, and my accountant tells me by the end of the year we'll have done $10 to $12 million in sales, and that's probably another story.
Gary Johnston, Jono, takes a well-deserved place in the BC Rugby Hall of Fame.